We are back in the black hole of real estate, and I want to take some time to go over the sales stats that have occurred through the first 3 quarters of 2023 and how they compare to what took place in 22 and what's ahead. So the first thing I want to do, I want to tackle the single family home report, and these are pulled from the WISE report that comes out a couple times a month, and it's within regards to the Daytona Beach and surrounding areas for home sales. And while this may not be indicative of the marketplace across the country, it does give you a really good section of what's going on in the state of Florida. The sales in September of 2023, it's over 400 in that real estate board, with a median sales price at $380. And if you look back to last year, the number of sales, and this is pre-hurricane, because the hurricane happened at the end of September, early October, it's 311 sales from the same time period of last year. So 401 to 311, it's a really, really big jump in a number of properties sold at a time when everybody's saying that sales are down. It's dramatically up year over year. And it's about the same as August of 2023, where it was a few sales difference. So what does this mean right now? Well, it means that last year the median sales price was $370 for this month in this time period, and this year it's $380. So the number of sales were up dramatically, and the median sales price also went up. So we continue to show evidence that flies in the face of all the chatter that the number of sales is about the same, and the median sales price, it's actually a little bit ahead. So it still hasn't dropped. Now, could it drop? Of course it could drop, but we're going on a year of people predicting catastrophic drops in the marketplace, and we just don't see that, and we continue to not see this. And at some point, I don't want to be complacent about these numbers, but we've been saying for over a year that the prices are going to hold firm. Maybe the volume's off a little bit. If we were to look at August of 22, there was over 400 sales. The big drop was last September, and there was things in the market that were causing that to take place. But here we are a year later, and we're within a few sales between August of 22 and September of 22, and this year. The August and September numbers are all in the 400 to 414 range, so super tight range. The median sales price is in that 370, 380 range across the board. So the big news is there's really not much of a change. Now, if you want to look at year to date, for all of 2023, there's been a little over 3,400 sales compared to about 3,600 last year. So that's down about 6% as far as the number of properties sold. But as we mentioned, it's on the rise. It's coming back. And if you think about last year, October, November, December, in this particular area, sales were off because there was a major hurricane followed by another one, which really created a scare. So it's likely that these numbers will catch up, at least in this market. What's really interesting is the median sales price last year, year to date, the first 9 months of the year, $375, and this year, it's $375. So there's literally no change. So everything that we've been talking about is playing out in real time 3/4 of the way through the year. That the number of sales is about the same, maybe a little bit off, with rising trends towards the end of the year, and a median sales price held firm. Now, if you want to talk about the inventory game, this time last year there was about 1,500 properties, maybe 1,510 the report says, as far as single-family homes available at some point in time during the month of September 2022. And this year, September 23, about 1,750 available. So it's a pretty good increase in availability for buyers to choose from, and it might be contributing a bit to the sales. There's simply more to choose from. The inventory from August to September of this year, it's within 5 houses, so it's relatively neutral. Now, the year-to-date inventory, and this is where it gets interesting. Year-to-date in 2022, the first 9 months, about 5,600 homes available. And this year, over 6,000 homes available during the same time period. So inventory, it's absolutely up. And the numbers are showing that. So if I told you that inventory was going to be up and that sales would be about the same and that price would be about the same, you'd be in the ballpark. So the news is that not much changed, and the market continues to move forward in such a way that prices have not dropped. And right, the predictability says that it's probably not going to drop. If anything, rates are pushing 7s and 8s right now, and if that were to retrace even a little bit, it might introduce more energy into the market and actually increase sales. And knowing that these rates have gone up from the 2s and 3s to the 7s and the 8s, and the price is held firm, the purchasing power conversation does not hold water. Now let's flip it over to the condos. This is a little bit different. If we compare September of 23 to September of 22, you're going to find a really big increase in the median sales price from 283 to 315, and that was fairly predictable. But the number of condos sold, it dropped from just under 150 to a little over 100. So it's a really, really big drop in the units sold. Now let's also consider that there's a bit of seasonality to condos, and 1 month to the next you could see some pretty big spikes because it's a smaller sample size. Now in August of 23, about 125, 126 sold compared to 120, so it definitely dropped from August, September this year. Last year, August, September, we're in the 140s both months. So not much difference in those areas. It's really the median sales prices playing into this. And if you look at these times last year, there was a drop from almost 320 to 280. So it looks like September was a bit of an anomaly as far as pricing last year. And it could have been the number of the lower priced condo hotel units entering into that market space. And that might just tell a bit of that story. Now, the inventory levels, there's just not a lot of inventory in 2023. About 1,000 properties year to date have been available, condos only. And median sales price was $295. Now, last year, at the same time period, it's almost 1,500. Median sales price about $299. So the median sales price is in a real tight range, $295 to $299 over the last 2 years. It's the inventory that's super low right now, which makes it a little bit interesting to me as we get into what we like to call snowbird season. Which of the condos are going to be purchased by which of the buyers? A lot of them historically have rented, and as they get closer to specific dates in their life, usually it's retirement or a transition from one job to the next at the end of their career, that causes these things to happen. So if anything, we've got an inventory shortage in the condo market, and I wonder, is this the time where we start to see more inventory coming in? Because it's so low, it needs to be on somebody's mind that it's attractive to go on the market, maybe sell by the end of the year. There's certainly some tax breaks that people might be looking at to close by December 31st. And if you think about second homes, vacation homes, or maybe it's an investment property, they rent it part of the time, or maybe full time at this point. A lot of people have changed their travel situations, not going to the same place every year, and the vacation condos they've got in certain areas of the country, they're spreading their time around more areas of the country and going either to longer term rentals, or maybe it's just a time for them to cash in on these properties that they bought years ago. So the condo market is really, it's really an inflection point right now. I expect more inventory to come in. I do expect prices to hold firm, maybe actually go up a little bit from this point forward, because there just isn't a lot to choose from coming into a time where people historically start purchasing condos to come down for the holidays and for the colder weather that most of the northern part of the country faces. Now, what do we do with this information now that we have it, and how do we feel, emboldened to go out and do the right thing in our real estate portfolios and purchases? It's probably never a bad time to purchase real estate. It matters more when you sell it. And if it meets your needs right now, or you need an investment, maybe for a tax strategy, it's not a bad time to go into the market. Whether it's single family homes, whether it's purchase or rentals, condo market is a little bit different, but there's some good returns out there in the long-term market. The Airbnb has taken a little bit of a hit, and I think it's just as people have altered some of their travel plans or shortened certain ones up. I also know that a number of property owners have tired of the wear and tear in the short-term rental game and the constant upkeep, and shifted over into a relatively similar profit pattern, because they're not having so many cleanings and not so many fees and not so many repairs and replacing of durable good items that would always run out during these rentals in the short-term side. So it's going to be interesting to see how the next few months unfold. But if the crystal ball was looking super clear right now and super good, we're probably going to coast into the end of the year with similar sales to last year, similar or better, higher
median sales prices pretty much across the board in these categories. So as we look at this last quarter, my question is, what is your question? What can we answer for you? What can we resolve in the internal conflict? Do I buy? Do I sell? Do I just hold or just do nothing in this fourth quarter? My suspicion is that someone that buys during this time and is not too concerned about interest rates, either through refinancing down the road or using a adjustable rate mortgage that automatically floats down if the rates go down, or maybe some 2-1 buy downs. I think that's going to help both markets, condo and residential. And as far as the investments, with the market just a little cooler, it feels slower, even though it may not play out in the numbers. I think someone's going to get a deal between now and the end of the year, and might be predicated on people being tired of being on the market. Maybe it's a tax strategy, or maybe, just maybe, with the holidays coming, I said, hey, I can really use a cash infusion for something else. And I think that's what's going to drive this next few months in the market. But who knows? I could be completely wrong. But the last couple of years have proven that we've been right more often than wrong in these situations. So if you got a comment, please drop it below and subscribe so we can keep providing you this information. And if there's anything we can do for future topics, add that in too. This is Ron Wysakarski for the Black Hole of Real Estate.